All right, mandatory evacuations in order for parts of North Carolina as Maria makes its way up the West Coast or East Coast, I apologize. And we just heard from the governor of Puerto Rico, said post-Maria, they are in a world of hurt that could take not months or years, but as you heard from him, maybe decades from which to recover. Meteorologist extraordinaire joins us right now. She telegraphed a lot of those worries. And for kids who get rightly scared about this stuff, she's also author of Freddie the Frogcaster and The Flash Flood, which, by the way, was very timely with all of these storms, because the flooding, as you always remind me, is half the battle.
Is the #1 cause of deaths when it comes to weather.
Days after.
People don't realize that. More than tornadoes, more than hurricanes, more than lightning, flooding causes more loss of life. So I think it's important not only for us to talk about flash flooding, and explain it, but to talk to our kids. And I think maybe we're a little afraid because of the images that are on television right now.
That really does scare kids.
But now is the time to talk about it, because you can survive a flood if you know what to do. The National Weather Service has come out with a great expression. It sounds a little silly, but it works. Turn around, don't drown. Don't travel through water that you can't see the bottom of. And if you can do that, you could save your life.
Half the time that's what happens. These people who drive into what they think is just a shallow
they think you
water
can do
street, and then they're gone.
No, it just takes a couple of inches to knock you off your feet and to bring your car downstream as well. So
who are these books for? Like, I remember vividly when you started this Freddie the Frogcaster series and all. You could argue there is as well for adults, because kids can remind adults, and henpeck them, hey,
I've had more parents and teachers tell me that they've learned from these books, which is really important to me.
Who are they
obviously
geared for, like this reading?
I would say kindergarten through 3rd grade, but younger kids will love the illustrations because Russ Cox is back.
Absolutely beautiful.
He paints his illustrations, so they're beautiful illustrations. And at the back of the book, value for your dollar. I know that you're all about that.
Sure.
There is sort of, if you want to dive into the meteorology behind why weather happens, in this case flash flooding, then you can learn about meteorological terms that I use on television.
Yeah.
And teachers have told me they learn stuff from Freddie, and the best compliment you can give me is when kids come up and say, Mom and Dad, do we have an emergency kit? Let's make one together. Let's make sure if the power goes out, we know what to do and where to get our emergency kit. Or do we have a plan, Mom and Dad, if something happens, the power goes out?
You were on this kids thing, now everyone's copying, look at Ainsley, love her dearly, but come on, what happened there? And all of Kilmeade's books.
Is he coming out with a kid's book too? Kilmeade, come on, you're killing me. Listen, this is the 5th book, and I think this is the most important book, because I think flooding can happen anywhere on this earth, right? Some people don't get as many tornadoes, maybe they don't get hurricanes, but if you have rain in your forecast, you have the risk for the potential of a flood.
Well, you reminded me, remember with Sandy 5 years ago, that wasn't even a hurricane. It was a nor'easter and a surge.
They call it a superstorm because it was a hybrid of a hurricane and a nor'easter. But yeah, it was the storm surge and the flooding that caused so much devastation. But listen, we can survive these weather phenomenon if we know what to do.
What's behind this weather phenomenon? I talked to a lot of climatologists who said, see, it's global warming, climate change, but it's been a relatively subdued 12 years. So
we've had
what is
hurricane drought. This is very much like 2004, 2005, where the conditions in the atmosphere have become favorable for hurricane development.
Is that a cyclical
There's a whole bunch. Definitely, it's cyclical. I mean, if you look back to the 30s, the 40s, the 60s, certainly 2004, 2005, it usually comes, after a period of very quiet times. And the National Weather Service, the National Hurricane Center, said the conditions are favorable for hurricanes. You can have many hurricanes in the Atlantic, but it just takes one to make it a bad year. And unfortunately, we've had a record-setting year with, not 1 but 4 major hurricanes that have caused disaster, obviously, in the U.S.
And the hurricane season ends when?
November 30th. But you can have hurricanes.
Conceivably a ways to go here.
Yeah, we're actually a little bit past halfway through at this point.
Okay.
But a period of quiet right now, and then we'll have to watch as we get into the fall months. But I also want to point out the Flash Flood book, all the proceeds that I make from this book will go to Hurricane Harvey relief in Texas.
Good for you.
And my good friends at Team Rubicon, who get our veterans out with first responders and help in disaster areas. So all of my proceeds from the Flash Flood book will help flash flood victims in Texas.
You're amazing. Are your kids your audience for this? Do you bounce it off them and all?
I mean, definitely. I start off with my kids, and they give me suggestions, and then, you know, I have people like you read it and tell me what your thoughts are, the good, the bad, the ugly.
I didn't understand the weather analogies you were making. How are you feeling, by the way, the MS and everything?
I'm feeling good. I mean, I know a lot of people, you're very open with your multiple sclerosis diagnosis.
Only when I can milk it for sympathy.
Taking out the garbage, that kind of thing.
Right.
But listen, a lot of people don't realize this. Neil was the first person that I went to when I was diagnosed back in 2005. And I thank every moment that, you know, you've given me hope and your expertise through something like this.
You're on fire, young lady. I told you to quit, remember? And you didn't. All right.
No, you didn't. You told me to persevere.
And you did, and then some. Freddie,
I adore
the broadcaster and the flash flood. She is on fire. Take that, Ainsley. Take that, Kilmeade. More after this.
No Kilmeade.
No Kilmeade.
No.